Welcome back. Good morning. Good morning. So today we're going to do some Texas state questions. So if someone is here from another state, these questions apply to Texas. However, you can always learn how the questions are created, how to think about, what the question is asking. So although it may not apply to another state, you'll start to learn to understand what questions are asking and how to break them down, keywords, the topic on the question, and then review the answer. Okay, and I review the answers in detail when, some of the students don't get them correct. All right, with that said, hey, this is Lillie Handy coming to you from San Antonio, Texas. And so if this is your first time to my channel or to Facebook, hey, tap that subscribe button, click the little bell so that you're the first to get notified whenever I go live or upload a video, and like this video if you find it useful. So with that said, hey, let's get going. This is the book that I use, and oops, wrong way. So for those of you that have been with me before, this is one of the books. Okay, I have several books that I use. However, this book is excellent. Texas Real Estate Sales Exam, 4th edition. It is an old book from 2006 from Learning Express. For some reason, they don't create them anymore, and I wish they would. And a few of the state questions are outdated. However, the majority are excellent. A lot of my students have mentioned that many of the questions are identical on the exam. Just keep in mind that every single exam that you do when you go to the exam center, if you happen to have to take it more than once, it's going to be different. They have so many versions, and they update, especially when the Texas laws change. And we have a new contract that started April 1st of 2020. I love this book because, and so do a lot of the students, and you can access this book in the Facebook group. If you're a member of the AgentPrep Facebook group, it's a private group. You can download it on there. It's under the tab guide number 3, and you'll be able to download it and review it. It's 287 pages, as you see right here. It has 4 exams of 110 questions. The first 80 are national. The last 30 are state. Now, today you end up taking, 80 national and 45 state questions. So this one is not as long. The current exam book that I use, has those questions. So today we are starting with exam number 1. It also reviews math and, of course, the glossary, definitions, vocabulary. I stress it over and over and over. And if you ever go to Prep Agent, he also stresses that it is extremely important to know your vocabulary. And you'll notice that when I point it out in the questions. So you're learning a new language of real estate. It's a must that you understand the vocabulary, just like you're learning any other language. Okay. And it has a refresher course, math review. It used to come with a CD, which I don't have. And yeah, wouldn't be able to do it here. Okay, so today we're going to start out with exam number 1, question 81. Why 81? Because the state questions start at number 81, right? It's the last 30 questions. Okay, and let me refresh my screens on my computer, okay, so that I can be able to answer the questions, type the answers in the group. So if you're in a Facebook group or in Twitter, okay, so that you'll have to refresh the page so that you can see the live. Okay, if you don't refresh the page, you don't see the live showing up because I posted a reminder. And the same thing with YouTube. Okay. And then you'll want to expand the screen, as I am doing on my computer, but on a different monitor. That's why you see me turning. All right. So let's get with it. So remember to post the question number and the answer on the chat box on whatever channel you are viewing it. Okay? All right, let's get with it. Question 81. Which of the following is the Texas Real Estate Commission, known as TREC, not empowered to do? A, suspend or revoke the license of a broker found guilty of giving legal advice. B, make a payment from the recovery fund to pay the legal fees of a salesperson that was found to be innocent. Number C, contract with a national firm to write and administer an exam to determine competency of a licensee applicant. And D, publish forms for mandatory use by those to whom it issues brokers or salesperson license. So take a moment, reread the question, and type your answer on the chat box, okay? So I give everybody a little bit of time to answer the questions. That way I can help you if for some reason you get it incorrect. If you get it correct, awesome. And say good morning. And hey, if you're watching on Facebook, remember to go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give Facebook permission to post your name on, hi, Rachel, to post your name on StreamYard, because that's what I'm using. Otherwise, it'll only say Facebook. It won't show your name. Okay, so Rachel says 81D. And and Rosaura says C. So rethink about this, reread the question and the answers. So which of the following does TREC is not empowered to do? Okay, which one are they not empowered to do? Okay, so can they suspend and revoke? Yes. Do they make payments from the recovery fund? Questionable. Do they contract a national firm to write and administer exams? That's like Pearson VUE or PSI. Yes. Publish forms for mandatory use by those whom it issues a broker or salesperson. Yes, those are all the TREC forms, right? All the Texas real estate forms. So the correct answer here is B. They are not empowered to make a payment from the recovery fund to pay the legal fees of a salesperson. That's why we have errors and omissions. The error and omissions would fight for the realtor if someone complains to TREC or they did something incorrectly, and someone, instead of resolving it amongst ourselves, they go directly to TREC. The recovery fund is to pay for losses, okay, and to pay the person complainant that won, okay, if for some reason the E&O covers the salesperson, and that a lot of times we have to pay a what do you call it? The first 1,000 or 2,000, okay. And but the recovery fund is not to pay for a salesperson's legal fees that was found to be innocent or guilty. No, we don't pay. They don't pay for that. Okay, it is used for the individual that complained. Now that salesperson will eventually have to reimburse or recover that, and TREC collects money from all the realtors, and from Texas, of course, not from all the other states, and creates a recovery fund. All right, so the answer is 81B. So Rachel and Rosaura, do you understand why it's not C, okay, nor B? Because TREC does publish forms, right? They have the 13 member committee, 6 attorneys, 6 brokers, and 1 public civilian. They create all the legal contract forms, all the forms that we're required to use in a transaction. Okay, so they also contract a national firm, and who's that national firm right now? Pearson View. They also suspend or revoke the license of a broker found guilty. Of course, they have to have a review meeting, okay, in order to listen to both sides. They don't just boom, revoke or listen to one side. There is a meeting, a kind of like a court date, okay, committee meeting where they review both sides of the story. All right, so 81D, 81B. Very good. Glad you got that. All righto. Number 82. Now my mouse moves really slow. Oh boy. The mouse moves really slow and the sidebar, let me go to this one. I think it'll move faster. Yeah, that'll, okay. Sorry about that. I had it clicked on the wrong. I had the wrong tab marked on top, okay? So, you know, we all make mistakes. That's number 85. Let's go to 82. All right, there's 82. Can we see it all on one page? Yes. All right, very good. Nobody else? Okay. So this is what I mean. Oh, hi, Ruth. Thank you for joining us. So when I was mentioning that you have to give Facebook permission to post on StreamYard by going to streamyard.com/Facebook. This is why we see a name. If you don't give StreamYard permission or Facebook permission, then you'll only see Facebook user. So that's Rosaura. You can go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give it permission. Okay, so the answer was 81B. All right. Number 82. Pamela, who lives in a suburb in which many homes are rented, decides to open a rental agency in order to assist her friends in finding suitable renters. Now, Pamela's conduct is what? Okay, so Pamela lives in a suburb where there are many rentals. She decides to open a rental agency in order to assist her friends finding suitable renters. So when she's doing that, she's going to be getting paid by them, right? So what is her conduct? A, acceptable because it is relatively small in scope. B, acceptable because it involved only Pamela's friends. C, unacceptable because it involves an activity for which a real estate license is required. Or D, unacceptable unless she makes a voluntary contribution to the recovery fund. Okay, and you're hearing me chuckle, right? So type your answer in the chat box. Okay, Rachel says 82C. So does Rosaura. There's quite a few of you on here, so come on in and chat and type your answer so I can help you out. And yes, so the answer is C, unacceptable because it involves an activity for which a real estate license is required. So whenever we're helping someone with the intent of getting paid, then we're representing them in one way or another. And when it concerns real estate, we have to have a license. Very good. Okay, I may have to go a little bit faster if I'm going to do 25 questions. That's kind of my goal. All right, 83. A hairdresser told a broker, oh, let me show the answer. You are very blurry, can't see the question. You know what? That's the setting on your computer. So on your computer, you need to go to the bottom of the screen, okay, when you're on the Facebook page, and click the little settings and change the resolution to 720 or 1080. And that's why that happens. Okay, let me see if I can show you. And so that is an issue on your computer, not on my end. Okay, so that doesn't allow you. Let me see if I can show you how to correct that. All right, so I'm going to bring it to the screen. Well, darn, this little thing here won't let me. Okay, so right down here where you can't see it. Okay, here, you have the setting here. And you see this quality auto 720, and you can change that auto 720, 480. And so you want to set it at 720 or 1080. And then you'll be able to see a clear screen and not blurry. Okay? Because that happens to me also when sometimes I haven't done that on my computer, and that's how we have to correct the resolution. Hope that resolves it. Okay, because I can see it clear on my computer, therefore it should be clear on yours. Okay, let me see on the phone. Let me see how it looks on the phone. You're going to hear noise on the background, so open in Facebook app. Come on. So bear with me here. I'm trying to help y'all out to I'm on my phones just so that I can make sure that it's okay. On my phone, it shows clear. Okay, so it's got to be an issue. Just so that I can make sure it's got to be an issue on your computer. Okay. All right. Continuing on. So everybody heard that? Perfect. Thank you. You're such a great. You're welcome. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Sandy. It's always nice to hear things, compliments from everyone else. I've been doing this for over 8 years. Okay. It's clear for you, Chantel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So number 83, I haven't read it. A hairdresser told the broker about a client who was looking for a new house. The broker contacted the hairdresser's client and sold him a home. May the broker pay the hairdresser for the lead? A, absolutely not. B, yes, but not more than $50. C, a gift with a value of not more than $50 may be given. Or D, only a thank you note is permitted. So far, I have an answer of A. Anybody else? There's quite a few on you here. So go ahead and write your answer, okay? So okay, someone else says C. Rachel says C, Ruth says A. All right, the answer here is C. So the broker can give a referral, okay, of $50, but it has to be a gift. So the answer states it. TREC's rules 535.20 permits a gift with a value of up to $50, but does not permit the payment of any valuable consideration. So in other words, it cannot be cash. It has to be a department store, some other type of gift but no cash to any unlicensed third-party individuals. It is illegal. So a gift, if you end up getting a Visa or MasterCard at a department store, that counts as cash. It would have to be like a restaurant card, gift card, or any other department store card. They have to use that money as buying something somewhere else without it converting to cash. Okay, so the answer is C, 83C. Got it? 83C. Okay, let's see. Any questions? Nope. Nope. Okay. All right, number 84. According to the provisions of the Texas Real Estate License Act, as Trella, Trela, know your acronyms, which of the following must be included in every listing agreement or buyer representation agreement? So listing agreement, right? We're representing a seller. Buyer rep agreement, we're representing a buyer. What must be included, okay, in every of those documents? A, marital status of the sellers or buyers. Well, what if they're not married? B, the geographic market area of representation. Okay. But C, a termination date that is not subject to prior notice. Or D, a proposed sales price and description of settlement costs. Well, heck, we're just starting the relationship, right? We don't necessarily know the price, okay, or the description of settlement costs. That happens when something has been contracted and going through the closing process, right? Okay, so far I've got 84B and C. For those of you who just came in, remember to type the question number and the answer, because that'll help us all know which one you're answering. Okay, so 84. Okay, I have a B, C, C. The answer is C, a termination date that is not subject to prior notice. So every agreement has a start date and an end date. So a listing agreement has a start date, you know, and a typical is like 6 months, you know, nothing is actually typical, but 6 months, okay, a listing agreement. A buyer's representation agreement could also be for 6 months, unless they're ready and to go. We could do it for 3 months on a hot market and we find them something, okay? Because they need to know that at a certain point, if they're not happy with us, they can terminate, or they can, you know, automatically expire after a certain deadline. So they have to, both of them have a termination date that's not subject to any other prior notice. And they only can have that buyer representation with one. I mean, with one broker, okay? So 84C. I have to type the answers on multiple places, okay? All right, number 85. Very good, except for, let's see, I had CCC. A, no, marital status, no. You know, a lot of people aren't married, they're single. So that doesn't fall with it. If they are married, yes, both names have to be on there. But which one is accurate? Which is the best answer? Okay, it's the termination date. All right, 85. Okay, what state agency is responsible for licensing and regulating professional real estate inspectors? Gotcha, very good. And their apprentice inspectors. Okay, so who license inspectors, home inspectors, real estate inspectors? A, the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation. B, the Texas Real Estate Commission, TREC. C, the Texas Real Estate Inspectors Agency. Or D, the Texas Attorney General's Office. Type your answer. And don't always go for the answer because it has one of the words that's similar to the question. That's not always the correct answer. In fact, most of the time it's not. Okay, Rachel typed in what I just said. It said, the fact that it has inspectors in the answer, no, that is incorrect. So try again. Anybody else? There are a lot of you in here, so don't be shy. Go ahead and type your answer. You might be just listening. Got it. However, it would be great if you could participate. The answer is B, the Texas Real Estate Commission. Truck licenses brokers, salespersons, home inspectors, property managers, and individuals that deal with easements. Okay, it does not license appraisers, which a lot of times people, students think, and so do realtors, that it license appraisers. But brokers, salespersons like you are working on getting, in home inspectors, it can be residential or commercial. Okay, they're inspectors. Property managers, okay, and also easement individuals. So the answer is B, 85B. Okay, very good. All right, number 86. Upon obtaining a seller's signature on a listing agreement, the broker or salesperson is obligated. So, hey, I just want to make sure, let me go back. Okay, I just want to make sure. Do you all understand that? That TREC, okay, is the department, Texas Real Estate Commission, okay, that licenses all those 5 different groups I mentioned, or 4: brokers, salespeople, home inspectors, real estate inspectors, not just home inspectors, real estate inspectors, property managers, and easement individuals. Just want to make sure you understand that. And also know your acronyms. TREC, T-R-E-C. Okay, 86. Upon obtaining the seller's signature on a listing agreement, the broker or salesperson is obligated to do what? A, advertise the property in the local paper or on the broker's website. B, set up a listing file and obtain an identification number from the broker's preferred title company. C, cooperate with other brokers in an area who might have a ready, willing, and able buyer for the property. You've heard that before, right? D, provide the seller with a copy of the agreement that is legible, true, signed, and correct. Now, let me just say, sometimes there could be more than one correct answer, but it has to be the most accurate answer. So after obtaining the seller's signature on a listing agreement, what does the broker or salesperson have to do? Okay, so far I have D. Come on, post your answer in the chat, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, because I'm streaming to 3 different locations: the Facebook private group, the AgentPrep Facebook business page, and to YouTube. And these are recorded, so you can always find them real easy on YouTube. There are on our private Facebook group, but they're a lot easier to catch them quickly on the YouTube AgentPrep YouTube channel. And for those of you who came in a little bit later, we're going over Texas real estate questions. And so it may not apply to your state. However, it'll help you understand how questions are asked and little tricky words that'll help you either screw it up and get the wrong answer, or help you to know the correct answer. And the answer is D. So as soon as a client signs an agreement, we must give them a copy of the legible, true, and signed and correct document so that they have for themselves. Now, right now, we do so much virtually, right? All my business basically is virtual. It's very rare that I print anything nowadays. So they have access to the file, okay, online when we share it with them. We can send it on a separate email just to make sure. But they must have a legible, true, and signed and correct copy. Okay, so the answer was D. Very good. So why, let's see. Rosaura, you selected C, cooperate with other brokers in the area. Yes, we do that, but that's why I mentioned select the best. So it says upon obtaining the seller's signature on a listing agreement, the broker must do what? We're obligated to do one thing first. And then we start to market it to everyone and attract other realtors to bring us a ready, willing, and able buyer, right? And we may attract that buyer through our marketing. However, the first thing is provide a signed listing agreement. And that goes for a contract also. All right, number 87. For a document to be legible for recording at the county courthouse, the document must be A, drafted by a Texas licensed attorney, B, witnessed by two persons with legal capacity, C, in English and acknowledged in the presence of the public official, D, in any language as long as it is witnessed by two lawful citizens and it is notarized. Okay. So no, in Texas courts and U.S. courts, I'll just say, hey, it's got to be in English. You know, there are many languages. However, the main language here in the United States is English. Okay. So type your answer. So far, I have 87A. I would reconsider that. Select another answer. A is not correct. Because remember, who creates the TREC documents, the legal documents we use? Texas Real Estate Commission. Okay. They provide us with the legal document. Yes, attorneys can draft a contract if that's what the buyer or the seller wants. However, no, they don't have to be drafted by an attorney. They're already provided and drafted through TREC's 13-member committee, 6 attorneys, 6 brokers, and 1 civilian. Okay. So, nope. Doesn't have to be witnessed by 2 persons with legal capacity. When you go to the recording office at the courthouse, you just go to the registrar, the recording person. They're the ones that are witnessing what's already legal on the document. So it has to be in English and acknowledged in the presence of the public official. So the public official is the person at the courthouse. Okay. So remember, all documents are created by the 13-member committee. They don't need to be done by an attorney nor witnessed by 2 individuals. Certain documents, maybe, at a later point, an affidavit or something like that, or something that's notarized that says on the document, you need 2 witnesses, but that is not typical. Okay, great. Glad you understand, Rachel. All right, so that was 87C. Very good. Number 88. Ooh, that's a long one. Oh, and here's some advice, a tip for when you're taking your exam. If for some reason, what I learned from reading some of these books, okay, that are written by companies or professionals to help you pass the exam, they're prep books. One of them stated that the first 5 questions of any exam are usually the hardest. And why? Because they want to trick you. They want to make you nervous. They want to make sure that you can deal with pressure, okay? And not let any difficult question deviate you from, not knowing the material. Because what? We get nervous when we go to exams, right? Even myself, all multiple choice. So what they recommend is skip the first 5 questions, write them down on a piece of paper, and skip the math problems because they can take more time. So you skip them and you start doing the ones that are after number 5. Start with number 6. Once you finish all the other questions, and I would, sometimes pass the long ones, and then once I get all the others done, then I come back and do the difficult questions, the first 5, all the math problems, and any that were longer, because we can put them up for review or put them down on a piece of paper. Okay. And I didn't know that. So I just recently learned that from a book that it says, hey, skip the first 5 and the math, do all the other ones, and then come back and do those once you're comfortable with all the answers from the other questions. Okay. So this is a long one. What would I have done? Put it for review. Okay. Because I used to be a very slow reader. I'm faster now. So if you're a slow reader, hey, mark the long questions for review, come back to them later. All right. The rules of Texas Real Estate Commission prohibit a licensee from creating language and entering in contract forms that define the legal rights and remedies of the parties. So which of the following would be acceptable language to enter in the special provisions, right? Section 11, paragraph of the Texas Real Estate Commission promulgated contract form. See, Texas Real Estate Commission promulgated contract forms. You take a whole course on promulgated contracts, right? So they're created by TREC, the 13-party commission. The 13-member committee. So what is acceptable language in the special provisions paragraph? That it's a blank paragraph. A, this transaction is contingent upon the sale of purchaser's present home. B, buyers reserve the right to terminate this contract for any reason within 8 days of the effective date. C, buyer will do a walkthrough inspection during the 4 hours immediately preceding closing. Or D, this contract is contingent upon satisfactory appraisal in the amount of the sale price. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of addendums that can be attached to the contract. If there's an addendum that exists that could be used for one of these answers here, then it would not go into the special provision. It has to be something that doesn't have an addendum that can be allowed to go into special provisions. So which would it be? Type your answer. Okay, so far I have 88C. Anyone else? Come on, come on. Come out of hiding. Type your answer. Don't be shy. This is the place to take the chance, take a risk. Hey, everything is risky. The day we were born, it started to be risky. Anything and everywhere we go, we do, it's risky. So take that risk. Okay, those of you that answered A, take another chance. Because there is an addendum for buyer having contingent on buyer selling their existing home. Okay, someone says B. All right. The answer is C. Buyer will do a walkthrough inspection during the 4 hours immediately preceding closing. Just before it closes. And why do you do a buyer's walkthrough, a final walkthrough? to make sure that everything that was there when they went to view the property and wrote the contract is still there, that nothing has happened, no damages, no weather problems that created damages to the house. They want to make sure they see it the way it was when they put a contract on it. So the walkthrough inspection, we don't have one in Texas. When I was a realtor in Oregon, we did have one, and then they would sign it. We have one that they sign after, okay, we do the walkthrough. So this could be written in the special provisions section of the contract. So 88C. So the way the answer states it is, this is a pure business detail. It states that what someone is going to do, all of the others attempt to create language that gives the buyer an opportunity to terminate the agreement. So we cannot put anything on there that says, oh, they can terminate within 8 days. The contract already specifies in many areas of when and how they can terminate the contract. Seller is not allowed to terminate the contract unless it's an illegal contract, invalid contract, or the buyer has, or the contract has expired, right? It's done. And the seller doesn't have to accept an amendment that the buyer might want to do a change. So then that's one way that the seller can terminate the contract, but they really didn't terminate it. They just didn't accept an amendment to change something in the contract. So we are not attorneys. We cannot write anything. The only thing that goes into that special provisions is something that the buyer or the seller want. It's the buyer's or seller's word. We go on their direction. We don't put anything we want on that contract. That contract is between a buyer and a seller on the listing between the seller and the broker. Okay. So 88C. Very good for those of you that answered 88C. Okay, number 89. Yay, a short one. I love little short questions. What term identifies a broker who has written authority to represent both the buyer and the seller in a real estate transaction? So what term identifies a broker? Okay, that's the umbrella. Okay. Authority to represent both the buyer and the seller. Because remember, a buyer agent cannot represent both sides. However, a broker can. So what is a broker called? A facilitator, a mediator, an intermediary, or a general agent? So far, I have 89C and C by Rachel, by Chantel. No, Sonia is not a general agent. When a general agent is something like a property manager, and yes, a broker. However, it says when a broker is representing both parties, the seller and the buyer, what situation, what position is that broker in? They're the intermediary. They cannot advise, negotiate, or anything. They just mediate and help both sides come to a decision. The broker has assigned a listing realtor to represent the seller and a buying realtor to represent the buyer. Now, they don't literally come and say, hey, Lillie, I want you to represent this seller that you already got. Okay, the clients are ours. However, per law, everything that we have belongs to the broker. If that client doesn't have a realtor, then the broker is going to assign. Okay, and they say, hey, Lillie, can you represent this? Or hey, Sonia or Sandy, we need someone to represent this buyer. They came in without representation. They responded to an ad without representation, and they want representation. Okay, so the answer is C, 89C, intermediary. Okay, very good for those of you who answered even before I got to the question. A general agent is an agent like the broker, right? They're given authority to represent them, but it's actually more like the property manager. A property manager is given the authority by their client to manage all the properties that they have as investments. They are a general agent. They do more than just one property. They do multiple properties. They could do just one, but they do multiple properties. Some of those clients will also give them a POA, power of attorney, to sign other documents for the seller, to get a loan, or really manage the whole thing. And the client is a silent client, okay? So that is a general agent. So general is not specific to one, okay? In each client, each transaction is specific to one, okay? So that's why we are special agents, okay? Not general agents. All right. Number 90. Did I type? Yes. All right. What state law requires leases for more than 1 year to be reduced to writing and to include a legal description of the property to be occupied by a tenant, by the tenant? A, Truth in Lending Law. B, Hardness Tenants Act. C, Statute of Frauds. Or D, Sherman and Clayton Acts. Hey, Miss Ruth is, oh, I thought you had already answered 90. Okay, Chantel says C. Ruth says C. Anyone else? Nope. Yeah. Yes, Chantel. And we can't do that. So, yeah, Chantel asked this. The Sherman and Clayton Acts. Yes, the answer is C, Statute of Frauds. Hey, Sandy, remember to type the question number and then the letter answer, please. So everyone knows which question is being answered. Because sometimes individuals are answering a prior question and there was a delay in it posting. So 89C, Statute of Frauds. So a contract for a lease less than a year can be oral. It's best to have it in writing, right? CYA, cover your rear end. It's best to have it in writing. However, anything less than a year on a lease could be verbal. Oh, shoot. I wrote 89C again. Meant to do 90C. Pardon me. So I wrote it twice. So 90 is C. So y'all have to stay on top of me. Keep an eye on me to make sure I type in the correct answer. All right. Sometimes I do make mistakes. Okay. We're not perfect. So if you ever see me typing an incorrect answer that you know absolutely that I typed the wrong answer or I said the wrong answer, please correct me. I'm not one of those teachers that doesn't like being corrected. Okay. We make mistakes. All right. 91. Okay, it doesn't, you can't see it all on one page. So let's reduce this a little bit. Ooh. Let's see here. Okay, I have to reduce it quite a bit. Okay, 91. Salesperson Judy Jones is employed by A to Z Realty, Inc. Judy learns that A to Z's broker of record missed her licensing renewal deadline. When Judy questions the broker about this, the broker laughs and says, "Hey, don't worry. There's always a grace period to renew." Judy knows that this is not true, but decides not to say any more about it. Judy's conduct is what? A, acceptable because she is following the advice of her broker. B, acceptable because the license at issue is not her own. C, unacceptable because upon expiration of her broker's license, sponsoring broker's license, Judy salesperson license is inactive, or D, unacceptable because Judy as a real estate licensee must conduct an independent investigation of any disputed fact. So what happens when your sponsoring broker license expires, right? We hang our license there. Okay. So what happens? Can we still practice real estate or not? Is our license still active or not? Okay, so far I have Rosaura and Rachel saying C. Chantel says C. And yes, that is correct. The answer is C, unacceptable because upon expiration of a broker's license, Judy's salesperson license is inactive. Actually, it happened to one of my, very good, Sonia. It happened to one of my sponsors that I went to the lunch and learn yesterday. And he was a top producing realtor. And all of a sudden, his broker's license was expired or something happened, okay, illegal that broker did. And he had to change ASAP, right? Because he's got all these listings and buyers and contracts and had a team. So it's crazy. We have to make that change immediately. Okay, number 92. Okay, I can enlarge the screen. Very good, y'all. 92. What must the broker do to comply with the Texas Real Estate License Act, known as Trella, when placing a sign on a property offering it for sale? A, have written authorization from the owner of the property before placing the sign. B, have an exclusive agency listing agreement from the owner before placing the sign. C, identify the broker as licensed agent on the sign. Or D, both A and C. What number are we on? 92. So what are we required to do in order to put a sign in a client's property, on a client's property, not in, right? Yes, it goes in, right, with the posts. All right. I would think again, Rachel, your answer is correct, but it's not the most correct answer because there's multiple answers that are potentially possible to be correct. So very good. The answer is D, 92D, right? Written authorization, so that would be in a listing agreement, and identify the broker as a licensed agent on the sign. Now, we may not have, they might be a for sale by owner, okay, and we don't have a listing agreement, but they say, hey, you can promote my property. You bring me a buyer, I'll pay you the 3%, right? So we're only going to get paid on one side. We have to have that in writing. So it would be a separate form that says a relationship between a seller and the broker, not a listing agreement, because we're not putting it on the MLS. We're doing it to attract buyers, which the owner says, yeah, you know, that's like for sale by owners. Okay, 93. It's very important that we get paid for our service, okay? We got education, okay? We deserve to get paid like any other professional and not just help others unless it's someone that you want to help, okay? And like doing pro bono activity, but you want to get paid. We deserve to get paid. So if we bring them a buyer, we want to make sure that it's in writing that they're going to pay us a 3% commission or whatever is agreed upon that you're okay with and that your broker accepts. Okay, number 93. If the effective date on the contract was June 26, 2005, remember, this book is from 2006, so some of the state questions could be outdated, but I'll point it out when they are. So if the contract effective date was June 26th, and it granted the buyer an option period of 8 days, on what date at midnight did the option period end? Okay, so today it doesn't end at midnight, it ends at 5 p.m. Because who's going to be open at midnight? Well, realtors and lenders, probably, right? On phone calls, but not the title company, not all the other agencies. So it was changed to 5 p.m. to go along with other businesses. So you count, right? June has how many days? 30, right? So you go January, February. So all the knuckles have 31 days. Anything in between has 30. Okay. And then so you go January, February, March, April, May, June. So June is in the middle of two knuckles. So it has 30 days, right? So, and the period starts 24 hours later. So June 27th, 28th, 29th, 30. Okay. And then 4 more days, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. That equals 8 days. So the answer is very good, 93B. That's how you don't have to memorize which months have them. Use your knuckles. There's other tricks, but use your knuckles for those months that have 31 days. Okay, what number are we on here? We're on 93. So 93A, July 4th. Oh, those of you that answered B, you count at June 26th. You don't count that date. It's 24 hours later. So let's say the contract went effective at 9 o'clock at night or at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's still 24 hours later at 5 p.m. Okay? It is July 4th. Right? 27, 28, 29, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 8 days. You start 24 hours later. Okay. So those of you who answered B, you got it? You don't count the day where it was executed. Go 24 hours later. Got it? Good. Okay, number 94. Oops. Okay, may a broker decide to offer cooperation with other brokers through sub-agency when placing a listing in the multiple listing system, MLS, of the local realtor association? A, yes, always. B, no, never. C, yes, but only when the broker feels that it is in the client's best interest. Or D, yes, but only upon receiving written authorization from the client to do so. Okay, you have to know what sub-agent is, right? So you see how there's a lot of definitions here, vocabulary, So type your answer. Feel free to ask questions. Or if you don't understand it completely, go ahead and type a question or however I may help you. Okay. Okay. So far I have DDD, dog, 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 day, day, day. And yes, that is correct. DDDD. Awesome. The answer is 94D. Yes, but only upon receiving written authorization from the seller, from the client to do so. And some brokers won't allow it. And that's because once we have a buyer and we're not representing the seller, we want to have a buyer's representation agreement with them. Okay. Therefore, we're not going to be a sub-agent because a sub-agent legally represents a seller. It's a substitute agent. And, we want to make sure everybody is represented. Sometimes buyers don't want to be represented. So that's when we do a contract. However, when we write the contract, we advise them, hey, the best thing to do is sign the buyer's representation agreement so that I can negotiate, advise you, represent you, not just facilitate the closing. When we represent the seller, we cannot represent them. Therefore, they're not a sub-agent. They're representing themselves. Okay? Very good. Number 95. Any questions? Nope. Okay. Which of the following could be considered? Okay. I need to minimize this a little bit. Which of the following would be considered a part of community property owned by a married couple that are legal residents of the state of Texas? A, to rent houses owned free and clear by the husband prior to marriage. So which would be considered part of community property, right? In Texas, we use community property instead of tenancy by the entirety, which is labeled in other states. So A, to rent houses owned free and clear by the husband prior to marriage. B, the $200,000 settlement that the wife received from her employer's insurance company for an injury sustained last year at work. C, the interest income from the certificates of deposit owned by the wife and purchased with the proceeds of her personal injury settlement. Or D, A, $500,000 inheritance received by the husband from the estate of his grandmother. So which of the following would be considered part of community property? So it's income that's coming while they are married. But there are certain things that are exceptions. Think again. It is not B. And it is not D. Okay, so it's not B, it's not D. Reason being is the money that came in has to do with an insurance policy, okay, for that person's injury settlement. That is not income that they are receiving while they're married. It's a physical settlement injury. And the last one is an inheritance, okay, received from an estate. That is not income based that they are earning during the time that they are married. The only one that becomes income during the time that they are married is interest income from certificates of deposit. Even if they were just, the deposits were owned only by the wife, but the interest that's coming in now belongs to the two of them. So the answer that it says here, it says property acquired before marriage and property acquired after marriage by gift, device, descent, or personal injury settlement can be held and maintained as separate property. Income produced by any separate property during the marriage is presumed to be community property or tenant by the entirety in other states. So the answer is C. So keep that in mind, learn that, ingrain that any health insurance settlement, any inheritance, okay, those are exempt. Any gift, okay, those are exempt from being community property because they are not income while they are married. That's not considered income. That's a gift, an inheritance, okay, or a donation. It's not earned income. A CD earns income, okay, interest in the bank. If the rentals are owned by one of the spouses, but now it creates a rent, then that rent coming monthly belongs to the two. Now, if that rental property is in an LLC under a different name, and that is to protect the owner of those properties, that it goes to their LLC, to their company, then it is not community property. So some individuals will do that. They'll create LLCs, they'll create other companies in order to avoid the spouse gaining that income, or them having to share a certain percentage of that property should they ever split up and have to sell. Because even if the property was owned prior to marriage and they end up splitting up and they're going to sell, the spouse has to sign. They may not get any of it, but they have to sign, okay, on the closing date to make sure nobody is, being taken advantage of. All right. Title companies will not take risks like that. So everybody has to be, every spouse has to sign anything that's being sold. If they don't want to sign, that can stop the sale of a property owned by one spouse. Number 96, which of the following is not an addendum promulgated by Texas Real Estate Commission? Okay, it's not promulgated by TREC. It wasn't developed by or created by the 13-member committee. A, addendum for sale of other property by buyer. B, seller's temporary lease. C, addendum for seller's disclosures of information on lead-based paint and lead-based paint hazards. D, release of liability on assumption of FHA, VA, or conventional loan, restoration of seller's entitlement for VA guaranteed loan. So which one is not created by TREC? It is federal. It is national. Those of you who answered D, that is not accurate. So give it another whirl. This question is missed a lot. And it is not B. There is a temporary lease. So a seller can sell their property and have up to 90 days temporary lease back. We have an addendum for that, or an amendment, okay? The answer is C. The lead-based paint, it is a federal law to protect families from their children being impacted by eating the lead, okay, from the paint. That is not state specific. That is a federal law, national law. Okay. That's the only one, okay, that is not generated by TREC or any state in particular. It is federal. Okay. It is national. All right. Number 97. Got it? Yes. Well, you see, that's why it's good for you to participate, because then I get to explain it a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Here's a big long answer, which I would have marked for review. To come back to it later because it's long. Okay. 97. Salesperson Sidney failed to complete his mandatory continuing education, MCE, prior to the expiration date of his current license. On the 5th of the month following, he brokered a deal worth $30,000 commission to him after the brokerage company gets its share. So which of the following statements is true? So Sidney failed to complete the MCE prior to expiration of his current license. He brokered a deal 5 months later. So can we exercise real estate when we have an expired license? A, even though Sidney sent his license fee to state before the expiration date of the current license, he committed an illegal act. So remember to read the answers carefully, okay? Read the answers carefully. Even though Sidney sent his license fee of the state before the expiration date of the current license, he committed an illegal act because he had not completed the required education. B, fortunately, Sidney paid his license fee before the deadline and was issued a new license with a requirement to pay an additional $200 and complete the education within 60 days. C, Sydney committed an illegal act and is subject to a fine and denial of an ability to reapply for a new salesperson license. D, none of the statements are true. Okay. All right, one of them is true. There are, well, I'm not going to say much. There are exceptions. Okay, Rachel says B. Who else? Come on, there's quite a few of you on here. Type your answers. Let me help you. That's what I'm here for. Rosaura says C. I would think about it again, Rosaura. It is not C. Okay, the answer is B. Okay, he says, fortunately, Sydney paid his fee, license fee, before the expiration date or on the expiration date. TREC will allow us 60 days by paying that $200 fee to finish our classes. Okay, I did that this year because I was so procrastinating till the last minute. So we pay the $200 fee for an additional 60 days, okay? And then we pay the actual renewal and the renewal fee at the same time. So it's going to cost us 400 and something, 200 for having a 60-day extension and the actual renewal fee. And then send in the certificates for those classes. And MCE classes now are 90 hours plus Legal Update 1 and Legal Update 2, which is another 8 hours, 4 for each. So it's actually 98 hours. Within your first 2 years, the MCE classes are 98 hours. Got that? It's a lot of work. So I highly recommend once you become a realtor that you start taking those 98 hours. Because let me tell you, even studying for 18 hours for renewal, I had to take Legal Update 1 and 2, which is 8 hours, and then another 10. It takes time, especially when we're working. Okay, 98. Which of the following actions could leave a broker open to charge of practicing law without a license? A, advising a seller that property is overpriced and therefore unlikely to sell. B, advising a seller that, in the broker's opinion, title to the subject property is not valid. C, advising a purchaser to obtain a lawyer's opinion of title or a title insurance policy. Or D, adding factual statements and business details requested by the principal to standard forms promulgated by Texas Real Estate Commission. So which one could leave a broker open to charge of practicing law? Whenever in doubt, have them go to an attorney. Okay? If you think, well, I don't know if I'm practicing law or not, hey, send them to an attorney. Okay? Our job is to represent them, show them property, protect their interests, write the contracts that already exist, not be changing anything. We can send them to accountants, to inspectors, roofers, anything that we are not an expert at, we refer it out. That's not our expertise. That's not what we were licensed to do. Or we refer them to an attorney, anyone that's going to help them answer the questions with their profession. No, 98 answer is B. Okay. Advising a seller that, in the broker's opinion, title to the subject property is not valid. We're not experts in determining whether a title is accurate or not. That is for an attorney or the title company. That's why there's title companies that issue title policies that have to be paid for. They have their own attorney that reviews those legal documents. And that title policy is the history of ownership on a property. Well, that's the title commitment, excuse me. But we can't say, no, that title is valid. How do we know that? We're not attorneys, okay? That's not our job. We're not a title company. So never. So adding factual statements. Remember, factual statements and business details requested by the principal. So under our client's direction. Yes, we can do that using promulgated tract forms. Yes, that is acceptable. So, advising a seller, certain things that we advise, we have to be very cautious and not advise something that is legal. All right, 99. Y'all get that? Got it? When it says factual statements and business details, and it's also saying it's requested by the principal, okay, and they're honest and truthful, okay, then yes, we can write those in. They're like it's special provisions. Number 99, parties can be compelled to take a dispute to mediation prior to being able to initiate litigation by A, the judge, B, the Texas Real Estate Commission, C, a broker, or D, either party. So where do we go for litigation? It's the question you should be asking yourself. So they, before they go to litigation, they're doing a mediation, because going to litigation, costs a lot more money. Sonia, I would recommend you select another answer because B is not correct. Okay, going once, going twice. Very good, Rosaria. Yes, the answer is A, a judge. The judge does the litigation at the courthouse, right? The first goal is to work it amongst ourselves, okay? All right, number 100. I don't think we're going to make 25 questions. Well, actually, oh yeah, we're 6 questions away. All right, number 100. A real estate salesperson decides to sell his own property without using a broker. In offering his property for sale, what must the salesperson do? A, he must disclose the name, address, and telephone number of the sponsoring broker, of his sponsoring broker. B, he is prohibited by law from selling his own property without using his broker. C, he must disclose to the buyer that he holds a real estate license. Or D, he is exempt from the need to disclose anything since he is acting solely as a private citizen. Once an attorney, always an attorney. Once an accountant, always an accountant. Once a realtor, always a realtor, as long as you keep getting your renewal, right? So we must do something, even when it's our own property. Yes, that is correct. C. He must disclose to the buyer that he holds a real estate license. Okay, 101. For which of the following is there no promulgated form? Okay, let me enlarge the screen. For which of the following is there no promulgated form, right? forms generated by TRAC, 13-party committee. A, contract for deed. B, lease for 60 days of occupancy by seller after closing. C, sale of unimproved residential building lot. Or D, addendum to establish terms and conditions of a seller financing arrangement. So which one is there not a promulgated document, contract? You know what? In today, so this, oh, wait a minute. Did we do 101? I skipped 101. Oh my gosh. Right? We skipped 101. Oops. Okay. The answer here, yes, is A. Let me change that, and then we'll go back to 101. Is contract for deed. Although it's not illegal, it's not prohibited by Texas laws and courts, okay? They do not favor or encourage the sale of property through a contract for deed. So that's when an owner is selling the property and not conveying the title, and the buyer becomes owner on title when they pay off the note, okay? So 102 is A. Contract for deed is a owner financing transaction where the title is not transferred to the borrower until the note is paid off. So 102A. And we'll go back to 101. So I don't know how I missed that. Okay, so 102A, yes, very good. A. Okay, here we go. 101. Which of the following is a statutory authority given to Texas Real Estate Commission known as TREC? A, license and regulate developers of condominium communities. B, inspect and accredit providers of acceptable education programs to provide pre-licensure real estate education. C, regulate the work of appraisers who perform appraisals for loans that are federally related. D, regulate the size, duration, frequency, and the medium for ads promoting real property offered for sale. So which one is TREC authorized to do? Come on, y'all. Write your answers. Take the risk, because everything is a risk, and better take the risk while I'm here to help you understand the answer and the question. So far, I have B. And yes, the answer is B. Inspect and accredit providers of acceptable education programs to provide pre-licensure real estate education. So all of you who are taking your classes, right? You had to pick an accredited school from like hundreds of them that are available. Okay, 101B. I don't this one. Oh, you didn't know this one? Is that what you're trying to say? Yes. So they don't regulate condominium communities. They don't regulate appraisers because they don't license appraisers, and they don't regulate size, duration, frequency of ads. Okay. They do accredit providers. All right. 103. Got it? You didn't know that one. Okay. So yeah, they accredit the schools and has nothing to do with appraisers. Because whenever you take your classes and continuing educations, we have to do it through an accredited school. And as soon as you finish the courses, some of them will automatically transfer it to TREC. because so much is now on the cloud, just like our company. And so it's really quick. When you first, if you do your classes in person and you're mailing everything in, it takes longer, then you have to mail it in. It doesn't automatically go to Trek. As all schools are upgrading and everything, they'll have a direct connection to the states, because some of these schools do all 50 states. Okay, number 103. Sam and Sally are occupying an apartment on a month-to-month lease with rent due and payable on the 15th day of each month. How much notice must they give their landlord to terminate their tenancy at will? A, so you need, what kind of lease? Month to month. What are they occupying? An apartment, right? Their rent is due, payable 15th day of the month. Now they're on a tenancy at will. So what kind of notice? A, 30 days unless otherwise stipulated in the rental agreement. B, 1 month plus 15 days. C, 1 month plus 30 days. D, since it is tenancy at will, no notice is required. Rachel, I would review the question and answers again, okay, and provide another answer, because D is not accurate. So that's letting everybody else know that. Get rid of D. Right. Whenever we leave somewhere or whenever the owner wants the property back, there has to be some kind of notice, okay? Either verbal or written. It's always best to do it in writing. And some of these agreements, they allow you to do it on email and maybe even now text, because you'll have something in writing. The answer, yes, is A. 103A. 30 days unless otherwise stipulated in the rental agreement. Okay, if the rental agreement says 10 days, great, 10 days. But tenancy at will means they don't have to have a particular reason to leave. They can just leave, okay, as long as they give the landlord time, 30 days notice, and the landlord also can terminate that lease without any cause, any reason, but also give them notice. So 103A. I was thinking A to begin with, but the tenancy at will threw me off. Yes, I totally understand. And that's because we may not know what tenancy at will means. It's kind of like having a job at will. A boss, when you have a job at will, the boss will fire you. Boom. No notice, no nothing. Says get your things and walk out. You don't get to get your files. You don't get to have anything that's on your computer. Just they walk you out. They don't want you to access anything else. Okay. So that's why a job, it's dependent. It's an opportunity to work for somebody else that can change their mood and say, hey, bye-bye, catch you later. Now we are required to give them a 2 weeks notice. Well, it's best, right? So that we don't burn any bridges. However, they don't have to. Okay, 104. Which of the following, let's do questions. Which of the following is true when an application for licensure has failed to pass the competency examination within the prescribed 6 months? Okay, so now we have 12 months, not just 6 months. Okay, so realize that we have 12 months. So this is one of the state questions that is outdated. The applicant must petition the Texas Real Estate Commission, known as TREC, for an extension. B, the applicant may exercise the 3-day grace period to retake the exam. C, the applicant may submit a new application with no additional fees. Or D, the applicant must submit a new application meeting all current requirements. So when they fail to pass the competency examination, in the past, you could take it as many times as you wanted. You just kept paying the fee. Now it's what, 3 times, right? And then we're required to take an additional, retake one of the 6 courses, because here in Texas, we have 180 hours, which is 6 courses. Principles of Real Estate is actually 2 courses, each of 30 hours. So yes, D is the correct answer. Hey, I appreciate all of you staying on here. That means you want to pass your exam. And you want to repeat these questions over and over until you get them 100% correct. That's what I did in order to pass mine, is I kept taking the questions over and over until I got them perfect, 100 score. Because if you get an 80 score, 70 score, passing score, you could still screw up on other questions. So keep taking them. Take the test at least 5 times, okay? Even if you already know it, take it at least 5 times and make sure you get 100 on them. All right. Okay. 105. Last question for the day. And then you may go and enjoy your Saturday. Take a break. Okay. And study some more. Which of the following actions does not constitute a violation of the Texas Real Estate License Act known as Trella? Okay. Trella, Trela. A, receiving commission without the knowledge and consent of the licensee's client. B, paying $50 to an unlicensed person as an act of appreciation for referring a buyer to the salesperson. C, placing a for sale sign on the property after receiving the owner's written permission to do so. D, failing to disclose previous flooding that occurred on the property 15 years ago. So which following action does not constitute a violation of Trella? Okay, so far I have an answer of C. Anyone else? There's a lot of you on here. So those of you who are here, you really want to pass, okay? Because sometimes Saturday mornings, people just want to take off and do other things, but it's a great time to study and prepare for your exam and start earning money as a professional realtor, okay? Okay, so far I've got 2 C's, Chantel and Sonia. Last chance for the day for this review session. No, A is not accurate, Rosaura. Any transaction that we do has to go through our broker. And no, it's not B. Why? Because it doesn't say what type of 50. You see, it says paying. We can gift $50, but we do not pay $50. Okay. We can gift $50, but not cash. Has to be in a gift card or some other gift. Okay. Failing to disclose a flood, that is a violation. Anything that we know, material facts about the property, must be disclosed. The correct answer is C. Placing a for sale sign on the property after receiving the owner's written permission to do so. That is not a constant violation of Trella. Okay. So receiving a commission without the licensee's consent of a licensee's client, right? No, we cannot do that because we have an agreement with them and our broker. We cannot receive something out of the transaction or not through our broker or without the client agreeing to it. They can turn us into truck. We do not pay $50. We can gift $50. Gift. Remember that. 50 gift 50, gift 50. Okay. We give. Okay. Not pay. Placing a for sale sign? Yes. With written permission from the owner. Not disclosing, disclose any material facts about the property. Now, if we didn't know that, we can't disclose it. Why? Because we didn't know it. However, if the seller put it on the seller's disclosure notice, now we know it, right? It's on there, but that is delivered to the buyer to review and then ask questions. I didn't read it right. I knew that answer for 105. Oh, hey, that's happened to me even during class. Okay. So don't feel bad. So this is the time to do that. Awesome, y'all. We just went through 25 Texas state questions, and I love it. You participated and you allowed me to help you and get your mind straight on the right answer and what the questions are asking. Okay. So, hey, if this is first time to my channel on YouTube, AgentPrep, hey, send some love. Tap that subscribe button, okay, and click that little bell, or tap the little bell, right, so that you are one of the first to get notified every time I go live or post a new video. And like this video, and also write a comment down at the bottom, okay, and let me know what else you would like to learn about. Now, there was a comment that, is this group and channel only for the Texas exam? No, it is also for national and for vocabulary, and now it's to help realtors get their business started. I get so many questions about that I added that to the YouTube channel now. So you will also see videos that don't pertain to taking the test. They pertain to starting your real estate business, how to deal with buyers, how to deal with sellers, how to study, how to relax, how to take care of yourself. All kinds of videos. That's part of our real estate business. So now it's like, what do you do after you pass your exam? You don't have to go somewhere else. You can learn through my YouTube channel. And there's a lot of information online through other channels. A lot of realtors do that. Okay. I just started out as tutoring for over 8 years and decided to add helping you get your business started. Okay, any questions? So let's see. Rachel, Sonia, Chantel say thank you very much for my time. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Says thank you for this session. I enjoy this so much. It helps me so much. I'm so grateful for that, Rachel. I'm so happy and glad that it does help you. I know it's helped a lot of students pass. And as I recommend it, do the exams, okay, 5 times. Why 5? Hey, just repeat until you get them perfect. These exams, okay, at the end of the chapter, at the end of each exam, okay, let me show you. There is, after the answers, not on there. Okay, hold on. Let me go to that page. Let's see, page 55. Let me show you. There is this scorecard, okay, that lets you know which questions pertain to what topic. Okay, so these questions 114, 19, 32, 41, 57, 63 were on property ownership. So it goes over the national and the Texas topics, okay, for all 130 questions. So if you have a weakness on laws of agency, go and review these questions again until you get them perfect, and review the answers, okay? Because the answers are in this book. You see how the answers are here? They're explained. The answers are explained in detail, okay? So this book is one of the reasons why I love this book. It has the questions. It explained the answers. It has the score sheet, so that you can go back and practice the questions that you failed pertaining to a certain topic. And it also has a Scantron. The Scantron is at the beginning of each exam, okay? So you can print the Scantron, and let's see here. Okay, there was a, see, there's a Scantron that you can print. See right there? Like if you're going to a test center and doing it in writing, except when you go to the test center, it's on the computer, right? But you can print this one page from this book, 287 pages, the Texas Real Estate Sales Exam, 4th edition, okay, created in 2006. It's in our Facebook group, Facebook AgentPrep, okay? And so when you're a member of my group, then you can download it from there. It's also on Google, okay? It's online. You can look up Texas Real Estate Sales Exam 4th edition, Make sure you put in their 4th edition, and you can download it as a PDF. But you can easily go to my group, AgentPrep group, okay, Facebook, and click guide number 3, and then click the posting. And you'll have to click it twice before you can download it, okay? Because it's going to the post first, and then you click the actual document to download it. This is an awesome book, y'all. And even if you are in another state, do the national and the vocabulary from this book, the answers, okay, the score sheet, the Scantron, it's all there. Okay, don't take it from me. You can ask other people on the Facebook group that have been with me for years, okay, or that passed it. Okay, any questions before we call it a day? What book is it again? It's this one right here, Ruth. Texas Real Estate Sales Exam. Okay, so let me show you how to access it. So you can Google it. But there's going to be tricky pages that want you to download something else. Okay. And so on the page, okay, so here we are on the Facebook page, Real Estate Exam Prep, Agent Prep with Wow Lillie Handy. See right here on the menu, right underneath all the private members, it's under guide. So you click the guides, and it's guide number 3. There's vocabulary. There are a lot of other resources. It's guide number 3. So you click on it once, that opens the post. Okay. And then you can see the PDF. So then you click the PDF and it'll download it. Okay. So you see it downloaded it right here on my lower left of my screen. And then I can open it. It has other sections, exam cheat sheet, the night before your exam. There are a lot of guides. I think I uploaded 14 different guides that I took from the internet or from other teaching groups that the information was available. So other practice exams, okay? If you want to study a certain topic like property ownership, the acronyms, only national questions, you can go on here. Okay, but you must be a member of my group, and you have to just request to join, and you answer the 3 questions. 3 questions is, when's your exam? Are you going to do it full-time or part-time? And then your information, your name, your cell number, and your email. When you become a realtor, all that information is going to be public. Okay, it's already public through Trek. Those of you that receive my email weekly, I get your information from Trek. It's public. I tell you what, people can find just about anything about us online. All right. Okay. No other questions? Thank you all. You're very welcome. Thank you. Thank you. And have an awesome Saturday. And until next Wednesday. Okay. Until next time, catch you all later. Bye.